Good evening, and welcome to the Speed Gaming 3 channel here on Twitch. I am Moogle Charm, and I am happy to bring you a fantastic league race. For a link to the past randomizer, here with me today is P-Train. P-Train, how are you?
I am doing fantastic. And yourself?
I'm also doing fantastic. I am super excited for this match. I'm sure you're a little nervous.
Yes, I'd be interested to know how nervous GFE is, though. His last match ended tragically in a Ganon fall. And then to couple on that, we got no points the first week. Compliments of Team Kappa in all dungeons. So yeah, I imagine that there's a bit of weight on GFE's shoulders for this match.
So for those of you who are new here, P-Train is a part of Team Spherefinity, shown on the left-hand side of the screen. And they're up against Waffle House Drive-Thru off on the right, GFE against Demo. As P-Train noted, they went 0-2 in the first week, but picked up a win last week, and they got 3 points. And obviously, Waffle House Drive-Thru has a couple of wins there and 6 points on their side. So, and we're off.
Yeah, casual boots is kind of nice. I always appreciate casual boots in a competitive seed, as we find bombos in the first chest. The escape sequence, love it or hate it, it's 6 minutes where basically both runners are doing the same thing. When you're in competitive play, it's kind of nice to do this if you're the kind of person that gets nervous. This is a wonderful sequence where you just kind of go on autopilot. You know, it's a nice warm-up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, you know, one of the great things about it is it takes that decision point away, right? A lot of times in Rando, you know, you have people who like to start with Uncle Routing, you have people who like to start with Sank, and this takes that out of the equation.
Yeah, it's a lot less variance in terms of that early game, you know, how long you want to put escape. You don't really get a decision with this. And with the boots, you get to take out the I guess the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to find a bomb, which is really nice because you can bonk that door open in the backup escape.
Yep.
So I always think it's kind of interesting to watch escape with the boots too, because you can kind of see like screen for screen how runners compare with execution. A lot of times you'll see runner like slightly edge out ahead with superior movement.
Yeah, and it's always nice seeing those top tier runners do this as well, because in these modes you can see them finish right around the 5-minute mark, you know, 5:10, which is just blazing fast.
Yeah, there's a lot of small quirks to moving with the boots that like for example, you know, if you're dashing less than I think like what 4.5 tiles, it's actually faster to walk the distance. So shorter dashes actually make you take longer in a screen rather than, you know, just walking that distance out. Dash turns, things like that, just little small details that if you pay attention to, it can really boost your movement through these screens.
Yep. And so far here in Escape, all we've gotten is that Bombos and a bunch of cash, so no real decisions to make after we get out of here as of yet.
Yeah, we'll see how GFE does with Ball and Chain. Yes, I agree with this GFE. Go get the pot.
You know, at the worst, he could probably use that Bombos. I think he's got enough magic, but no, you grab that pot and just finish it off.
Now, GFE had a match last year where he died to Ball and Chain, and then after going back all the way to Ball and Chain, he then opened the chest and then left Zelda in her cell. And then he ended up losing that match on Ganon. So yeah, I completely understand him bailing to use 2 pots rather than the sword slash strats.
Yep.
And it doesn't like that gave Demolisher a slight lead here. GFE had the lead up until that screen. But then again, though, you know, anything that keeps you from dying is almost always going to be faster than dying. So no shame in taking the safer strat. GFE also getting bullied in that hallway, just not able to get past those guards and their swords. The Demolisher looks to be having a little bit better RNG than GFE, though.
Yeah, at this point, though, still screen for screen, basically, so obviously no real lead yet. But to your point, from an execution standpoint, a little bit better from Demo.
I like the fact that both runners are not really killing a whole lot of enemies here. A lot of times when you're doing any kind of standard mode that doesn't start with the boots, you're very interested in prize packs because you're looking for bombs and things like that. Both runners seem to be pretty confident they're going to have what they need when they get to Kakariko, which shouldn't be an issue. You know, there's a bonk rock next to the fortune teller that has a bomb, and you know you can of course bonk this door, so they should be pretty set, even in terms of money once they get to Kakariko.
Yeah, I think one of the nice things about Escape 2 is that with the soldiers and then the ropes, those snakes, you know, they come from the same prize pack, so it's possible they could have seen one of the items and figured out they weren't going to get bombs for a while, so they just put that off.
The glove in the back of Escape is actually really nice. Not that you typically see people forgetting this location, but that item in particular can be very devastating to both runners if they forgot to check that chest.
Yeah.
It's a long way to get back here without a glove.
Yep. And the map was back there too, so there's still an item here in this chest. Looks like just a big 20. And off we go.
Yeah, not really much to get excited about. We do have a glove, so if you really wanted to be spicy, you could immediately go save the old man if you were feeling that. I would personally recommend it, but something our runners could definitely do here. Other than that, they don't really have anything exciting out of Escape other than just going to CAC.
Yep, and the Master Sword here out of Bonk Rocks, and we did see a map check. There were 2 red crystals, I believe, at Eastern and Hera along the Pendant Desert.
Correct, and those are 5-6 crystals at Eastern too, so that's interesting because that's kind of those dungeons are relatively easy to access. So we might see an early Pyramid Fairy play, or it might be indicative of, you know, some kind of progression in that location. Ooh, you don't want to see that.
No. Yeah, the worst thing is seeing a fetch quest there on on the Lumberjack.
Yeah, it could be our access to desert.
Desert's a pendant, so.
Yeah, more annoying than that are the 2 tablets, which you can't even check without that book. So. That's never something you want to see in competitive play. Demolisher taking a death. I didn't see quite how that happened. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either. I was paying attention to GFE's side. He decided to forego a large magic and ended up getting that, you know, the 80 rupees from that tree pole. Seemed like he had a little bit of indecision on his end, but yeah, I didn't catch how Demo died.
Yeah, I think he might have wanted to check.
He did leave Escape with only a heart, though.
Yeah, I think he might have wanted to check the tree pool just in case it was something good, so that way he could queue up another one after leaving the location. GFE is going
getting
really
a bunch
hard
of tree
on this
poles
money.
here.
He is probably preparing for Zora, but at this point, I feel like it might almost be faster to Houlihan.
Yeah, especially with that glove, right?
Yeah, and this is also like if you're gonna make this kind of a play, I might make this after Kakariko. Oh, he's going right there. All right, well there we go.
Oh.
That makes a little bit more sense, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's only 20 short, but he can grab that. You know, there's 20 in that cave just south of Ice Rod Cave, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, this is an interesting play. A lot of people like to play around with the early game routing. You'd be amazed how much you can switch it up while still keeping it, you know, relatively close. Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But I don't know. Like if you go to blinds, you're gonna do Kakariko, right? Like there's no scenario in which you skip Kakariko. And if you go to Blind's Hideout, you know, and you find 300 rupee hordes, you're gonna feel a little silly maybe that you invested time in this. So we'll see how this pans out with what Demolisher finds in Kakariko. And it does look like Demolisher's on 411 rupees, so I think he did find a rupee horde somewhere. I'm not sure if GFE is queuing up a water walk or not. So, fun fact, if you have the flippers, you can actually arm the water walk right out of Ice Rod Cave. You just dash straight down, you'll jump at a diagonal, so it keeps your water walk armed, and then you just swim off the waterfall, and you're in the water walk state. So, same effect, but you just get there a little faster.
Yep, still nothing on demo side except for he found the boots just now.
Yeah, there's nothing really exciting in there's nothing really exciting in Kakariko, so GFE might actually be onto something here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but how many times is skipping Kakariko the god route?
Right. You know, it certainly might have been those slippers. You know, just made sense for him in his mind. He could do a couple tree pulls, get to 500, and immediately get to Zora.
Tempered Sword really early is this nice.
One of the things
is real nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So something I've heard, and I would say I'm like 90% sure of this, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. When you choose casual boot, or basically any kind of assured sword mode, when it comes to the logic, I don't think the game actually realizes you have a sword. So let's assume that you need Master Sword to do Aga. If you're racing casual boots, you would actually need Tempered Sword for Aga to be in logic with your sword level. So like for example, Moth, I don't think Moth is actually in logic until you get Master Sword, for instance. I might be wrong about that, but the fact that GFE has a Tempered Sword so early, it makes me wonder if it's Aga. But also, I could be wrong about that. So, Relkin saying that is not true, and I'm not super confident in what I'm saying, anyways. I think it was Jet that told me that, and I think that was like back in the main tournament. So even if it was true then, it may have even been updated.
And GFE continuing to put off CAC, which is interesting.
Yeah, South Shore before CAC isn't near as drastic as Zora before CAC.
Yeah, well, given his routing, he's probably going to end up at Agina and then do Kakariko, I would think.
Yeah, I don't think he has anything left at that point. Although with that hook shot, he may just go for broke and sequence break the mountain. Well, it's not even a sequence break because he found lamp anyways.
The lamp.
And if GFE finds a Moon Pearl in Agina, I would not put it past him to go straight to Aga over Kakariko. I don't think he will, but if he did it, I wouldn't be as surprised as other people watching this.
As his teammate, though, how comfortable would you be?
Not very. Oh, it looks like, I forgot, Demolisher actually found Moon Pearl in Tavern. So hopefully GFE goes to CAC after this.
With Ether there on Desert Ledge.
Yeah, I love how this seed is very like look but don't touch. we see the book, but we can't
that
get the
book and
book
that
yet.
ether?
We see the ether, but we can't get ether yet. Actually, technically, we can get the book. The book is actually in logic now. Oh, Fire Rod Nagina. That's really good for GFE. I don't know when Demolisher's getting that, especially if book ends up being our access into desert.
Yeah, that's an interesting find because Demo's gonna finish off the Zora chain here. I would guess more than likely he's gonna go into Eastern, or to the Eastern area at least, before heading over to Agina, especially after seeing that book. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
So GFE is making the play to Eastern. Thank God there's not a bow in Kakariko. Although we'll see if he actually goes to Eastern. He may just be checking Sahasrara's closet here. Just checking.
And gets all his Zora money.
Yeah, again, that's the risk of farming money so hard at the beginning, because the moment you find a rupee hoard, you just feel silly.
Yeah.
I think GFE is finally going to Kakariko.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's doing that, just doing it from the south this time around, hoping to pick up some bombs.
Demolisher getting the bad news about the Zora area. Not really a whole lot there. I think Demolisher is going to make the play to the mountain.
Going to the mountain yet. Yeah.
I think Demo's on his way there now.
Yep. Yeah, I could see going to check Saha first, just to get those 3 checks out of the way. But yeah, this feels like a mountain play, given the equipment the game's thrown at you.
Yeah, Rando's weird like that too. Like I had a seed where I don't like going to the mountain without hammer or a mirror or something, basically Hera access. So one time I made that play and I felt super smart because I made the play to Sahasrara and it had the hammer. Felt super smart. I'm like, man, I'm crushing the seed, right? That same hammer in Sahasrara's closet ended up being my opponent's gobo. So sometimes like finding progression, you would think going to the progression's the right play, but and actually, we could see GFE in a similar position, if Quake ends up being on Pendant Moth and that gets you into Turtle Rock, independent Turtle Rock, just weird stuff like that can happen because you made the mistake of finding progression when you found it.
Right. Yeah, and there's a part of me that doesn't really blame GFE for doing this play last. One of the things that I've actually liked doing with casual boots is immediately saving and quitting after escape to do Saha, hoping to find potential progression that if I find Dark World access in CAC, I can just jump right in.
Yeah.
And GFE may have been looking for, another glove or that hammer to just go right into Dark World.
Yeah, and that makes sense because like for when I do open boots, like not casual boots, but open boots, I actually start going directly to Sahasrara. So, and again, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about GFE anyways, like doing Zora before Kakariko looks weird, but if it's a check that you're probably going to make anyways, why not, mix up the order? You're not losing a whole lot in terms of routing efficiency to do that.
Right.
And if you end up going into Kakariko with Dark World access, it's very nice.
Mm-hmm. And Demo in Paradox Cave, finding a mirror. So there's your Hera access.
Yeah, that's a really nice item to find up here on the mountain. Unfortunately, I think they're kind of being bottlenecked up here, so it's not like I don't see GFE missing that mirror for long. Knowing what we know, I'd be more worried about Demolisher finding that Fire Rod. Oh, flute too.
And the flute. So that's a little bit more incentive to check Agina for sure. But obviously we'll have to see. Gonna bomb his way over, probably check Spiral Cave, and then go activate that flute, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that gives Demolisher another out too, because if we end up with Myths or Dark World access, and he has the mirror, like there's really no reason for him not to go to the desert area and find that fire rock.
Yep.
GFE finding the garbage on Spec Rock, and we'll see what's in Spiral Cave here. Another rupee hoard. So this seed, you're not hurting for money on this seed.
No, definitely not. And
Which
is
is-
that Aga at this point? What? Oh, we haven't been to Eastern yet. But that's it.
We haven't been to Eastern, and Demolisher still has a keynote, which I can't imagine him not doing with that flute.
Right. And oh, Demolisher's taking that mirror over to Hera, it looks like.
It's like Pendant Mire, Green Pendant Pod.
Yep.
Yeah, really, this isn't a bad play. Hera's a crystal. There's really no reason to put it off.
Yeah, 5/6 crystal at that as well. And they've got that hook shot so they can potentially do Hera pot. So yeah, it'll be a nice quick dungeon.
Let's see what method Demolisher uses. He's using bonk strats, but I don't think that's where you bonk. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is a setup I'm not familiar with. There's tons of ways to set this up. There you go.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one. Different type of bomb strat, but it works just the same.
Yeah, I usually bonk from the bottom one, but that looked pretty slick. There's one item. I can't remember
And,
what was in
grabs
the
this-
basement cage.
I believe it was a full heart, so I think they're good to go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, GFE going back to the other side of the mountain. Going to probably make the same play here. But yeah, at this point, it's just Eastern Palace. Otherwise, it's Aga.
Yeah, Aga might not be
So
a
given
bad
what
call
we
here
know-
because you have the mirror, so you can combo Eastern and Pod, and you open yourself up for the book. So, yeah, I don't think Aga's a terrible play, even over Eastern, even if Eastern ends up having the hammer or the mitts.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you what play you would probably make in this situation, given what we know.
GFE second
I
guessing
kind
the
of-
heartbeats
I tend to
and now
agree with
we're
you, though.
pumped. Yeah, I would I would probably gamble Aga at this point. With the flute, I wouldn't fault anyone from going to Eastern, but especially with that mirror and the book is already on Lumberjack anyways, just go ahead and get that out of the way, and then you don't have to worry about it. Hope you find mitts. Hope, mitts aren't on the Ether Tablet or behind whatever's on the Ether Tablet, and you can clean that location up whenever you do Dark Death Mountain. GFE with a clean par 2, I think, boot speed.
Yeah, Demo making his way over to Saha without activating that flute first. So
Yeah,
it looks like
I
he's
probably would
going to
activate the
dip
flute
Eastern
first.
and
I think it's definitely faster to flute to 5. I mean, I don't know. If you have to check Sahasrara, I'm not so sure. You might just be better off dashing to Link's house in that case, but I don't know. I might have done Eastern and then mirrored and then done Sahasrara. Well, no, I guess you wouldn't do that because if Eastern has if Sahasrara's Closet has Dark World access, you're probably skipping Eastern at that point.
yeah, especially without the bow. And GFE there getting his first crystal, evening this up at 1 apiece. To see where he goes next.
I'm actually interested to see where GFE goes next, because he actually rushed Aga last race when he had like the entire eastern area open to him, and we just wanted him to go to the eastern area the entire time. So yeah, I
He's
wouldn't be surprised if he's like, "All right, you want me to do eastern area? Here's your eastern area."
right. He also rushed Zora and left Kakariko for last. So
Yeah, it does look like he's
looks
making
like he's making
the
the play.
Aga play. This is a good call, I think.
I'm still a little perplexed as to why they haven't activated that flute yet. I know it doesn't do anything for them at this point, but it's just one of those things. Like when you find what you need, you can just mirror and flute if
Well,
you need
I
to.
think
Or...
from GFE's perspective, I think it makes a little more sense, because I think what he's going to do is he's going to, you do Aga, you have the flippers and the hook shot and the glove, so you're going North Dark World, right? And you're working your way into Village of Outcasts. You have the mirror, so just activate it then. So from GFE, I completely
Yeah, that
understand.
does make sense,
Demolisher, I
actually.
probably would have done it before Eastern. And GFE, it's going to be a lot of overworld to cover, but he will have a lot of checks open to him after doing this this Aga play. So yeah, I 100%. I might even choose Village of Outcasts over Pod and Eastern at this point. He may want to check it as a safety against Demo, who may have done Eastern first. But no, I could see GFE going just straight to Village of Outcasts.
Do you foresee him skipping Catfish in that case?
I would check Catfish. I think GFE actually kind of has a bone to pick with Catfish, if I remember. I think he's been burned a couple times in the past.
Yeah, having that hook shot makes it nice and easy to get across. And like you said, you could pick up that book kind of on the way to the village, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Demo's found anything in
nothing useful.
Eastern. I don't know if that was the second or third item.
He definitely grabbed a compass as the first chest. But yeah, he didn't find anything in Eastern, so Aga's definitely the play. So GFE taking a slight lead at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, even if this wasn't an Aga seed, like I still would stand behind the Aga play, knowing the book is on Lumberjack. So, and now Demolisher's going out of his way to activate the flute. I think at this point you just do Aga, or unless he wants to check Agina. He might be checking Agina before doing the Aga. GFE getting the cool hook speed.
Yeah, it's always nice to pull that off.
I never managed to get that high. Like I always get like halfway through the bed. I'm bad.
And yeah, Demo making the play to Agina just like you thought. So gonna grab that fire rod. I won't miss out on that. But a little behind GFE here because of that Eastern dip. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, luckily there's a vanilla big key in Eastern. So even if GFE gets to go mode Eastern, he's still not going to save a whole lot of time. I love GFE's positioning in this Aga fight. So a lot of people kind of go on autopilot with Aga, but you actually still can save a little bit of time if you make it a point to hit him toward the center of the room. So that way he generally warps less distance. I think we're on our third blue ball. At least two.
3 for sure now. I think that whole round was blue balls, except for that first one.
I'm pretty sure that was 4 blue balls.
And he's been lucky with this pattern. He's gotten a few Aga hits right to the middle there.
GFE throwing shade to the red boomerang right there.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that one.
I'm slightly offended with that play. You can do so many cool things.
The most important boomerang.
You can do so many cool strats in the left side of Ganon's tower with that red boomerang. I actually go out of my way to pick it up now. Maybe not like Zor Ledge out of the way, but yeah, I would have picked that up.
Yeah, it was right there on his path. Yeah, with quick swap, some of those strats can be really cool, like you mentioned, especially in some of those rooms just south of that firebar room, double firebar room.
I appreciate GFE trying to pick up the Mitz rock right there. Like, he didn't just do Aga for a reason.
He knows you're watching, so he's gotta meme a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I agree with this play to skip pod. I will say that, like, I don't know, for me, it's just so often that when you play Aga, there's going to be progression in pod. But I don't know. In this case, I like skipping, going ahead and skipping to Village of Outcasts, because by doing Aga, you've kind of already said, like, I don't think progression's in Eastern, or at least not Dark World access. So let's go ahead and try to solve that piece of the puzzle, and then maybe go clean up pod in Eastern.
Yeah,
and of course, you could always find a bow in Village of Outcasts that, you know, makes that trip a little bit more convenient for you.
Definitely, and one of the things I was going to point out is I think having that mirror really makes this decision a little bit easier, because he can combo in King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge on the way. You know, 2 checks that can be really tough to get to if you isolate them a little bit.
That's actually our first bottle.
And when he goes to activate that flute, he can go ahead and give that bottle to Sick Kid and turn that in for something nice. Meanwhile, Demo on his Aga fight, so he'll be in the Dark World here shortly.
Just bombs and peace of mind that you'll never have to come back to this location. While I do like this route, it's hard for me not to feel like there has to be a better way to do this, just because there are so many mirror transitions involved in checking King's Tomb, checking Graveyard Ledge, getting the book off of Lumberjack.
Well, when you find it, P-Train, please let me know.
Oh, I will, man. I'm looking hard for that one.
Yeah.
Bumper Ledge is dead. We're just at 50 rupee on it. GFE's going to pick up his book.
And Demo should be wrapping up here. Yep, there he goes.
Book actually does a lot for us in this scenario. It gets a Ether Tablet is in Logic, Bombos Tablet is in Logic, and Desert is now full clearable. So Book definitely worth the trip in this case. Yeah, Chad bringing up an interesting point. Regardless of whether my sword anecdote was true or false, it does stand up in this seat at least. We do have, you know, swords were our logical access into the Castle Tower, and we did find 2 of them. So I'll be interested to know. I'll be interested to have like a dev confirm that, or someone who has confirmed it with the dev. Jiffy taking out those Gibdos, doesn't even want to dodge them.
Yeah, and I like this route. You know, let's knock out Skullwoods and Thieves Town while they're crystals. You know, you've got the Fire Rod, so it should be relatively easy given the equipment that they have.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to do all of Thieves Town without the hammer. And I wonder if a small key in the front will either incentivize him or decentivize him. Because if you have, if the small key is accessible in Thieves Town without the hammer, then the hammer can actually be behind blind, which can be intimidating when you're trying to weigh that decision.
Yeah, definitely. I think what makes it, I would say in this case, a little more appealing is, it's hard to get back to the village. Given that they'd have to start back at Link's house and kind of loop all the way around again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, after the village, it's not like they have a ton of stuff left. Um, they can check the first chest of swamp. They could do that Bombos tablet, but, forego the Smith chain on the way. Go up to Ether tablet. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of isolated at this point. I guess there's Hype Cave, but when does that ever give anything?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the biggest pain point right now for either runner would be progression on Ether Tablet. Like getting bottlenecked right now with Ether Tablet. But if I was either runner, I would feel okay with that because there's no way. Like, you wouldn't expect either opponent to just rush Ether Tablet. That would just be silly.
No. Yeah, definitely not.
Because, again, to your point, it takes forever to get back to Kakariko. Pedestal is dead. Just a piece of heart, so...
Yeah, another benefit of getting that
searching
book.
for that progression. It is kind of interesting that Pedestal's dead, because we're not that far from Pedestal access, actually. What, a bow and mitts? Well, I guess Anakana Samaria. GFE's going to continue his search for the items in Skull Woods as Demolisher gets here. Unfortunately for Demolisher, he is behind basically an entire Skull Woods. And I have to imagine that at least for the next few minutes, next 10, 20 minutes, he's going to be following in GFE's footsteps. So I don't know where Demolisher makes up time. Like, I mean, we still have opportunities for ice rod hunts and stuff like that, but, at least... Oh, and he gets Wallmastered. That's not going to help either. But for the next bit, he's just going to be following in GFE's footsteps. Well, there's an ice rod.
Oh,
all right.
There's your ice rod.
So that's a I don't want to say bad for Demolisher, but again, given the fact that Demolisher is basically behind a dungeon right now, he's going to need some variety in the end game to help make up some of this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I think if you're him or his team, you're kind of hoping that the next progression item is the mitts. Because that opens up a lot more of the world for there to be divergence between the two. But yeah, at this point, he's just going to be following him around.
And there's the hammer. So I have to imagine we're going to Swamp. I mean, like, of course we're going to finish Thieves Town and do all the stuff on the way there, but I think you start inching your way towards Swamp at this point.
Yeah, that would make the most sense. Obviously he'll be able to check that Bombos tablet on the way, along with Cave 45 and some of those other overworld checks. He'll probably do Hype Cave first, I would imagine. But this is allowing him to knock out 3 crystal dungeons in a row relatively quickly.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting seed. Like, Aga kind of ruined the seed, I want to say. Because our Sphere 1 was huge, right? You got the glove, you got the flippers, pearl, hookshot, fire rod, flute, mirror, and then you get bottlenecked by Aga, and you're shoehorned into the Village of Outcasts. So yeah, for as many items as we started off with early in the seed, it's kind of interesting to see how linear things are looking right now.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, in terms of Demolisher, I mean, because honestly, Hammer basically condemns Demolisher to remain in GFE's trail, probably through the end of Swamp. And I don't see I don't see execution making up that gap right now for either runner. So yeah, Demolisher's going to need some kind of fork, some kind of decision point in the seed if he wants to gain ground on GFE at this point. I think to your point, I think Demolisher needs Mitts in Swamp or Thieves Town and some really good guesses. Of course, though, we Turtle Rock is a crystal, and we do have some room for shenanigans with medallions. There also could be progression maybe tucked away in Turtle Rock, and you got to make your way up there or maybe earlier than you want to. So there's definitely room for Demolisher to come back, but it's just the way these items are currently laid out, it doesn't lend itself to Demolisher gaining ground on GFE.
Yeah, for sure. It's, you know, that progression item needs to lend itself to some divergence, and the hammer doesn't open a ton of checks that allows for that. You know, it opens up Spike Cave and Swamp, like you said, but Swamp is on the way. But not a ton other than that, right? So
this is something you don't see often. I think GFE actually found all items in Thieves Town. He completely skipped Blind Cell. At least I hope he found all the items.
I was gonna say, I hope you don't want to take that back later.
I honestly wasn't counting, but he seemed pretty confident not checking that chest.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel better with that map.
That should make you feel better. Yep, definitely. Demo making his way into the village, following in GFE's footsteps. So he's going to make his way into Thieves Town here pretty soon. But to your point earlier, you know, about a full dungeon behind at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it is worth noting that if this does end up being a linear seed, Demolisher does have Eastern Palace over GFE, so GFE is going to have to do that big key hunt. So although he looks behind right now, he's probably closer to even. But things like this, like I think this is time that GFE's making up on Demolisher. Like as crazy as his early game route was, there were some things he was able to do a little bit more efficiently than Demolisher. Activating his flute in this case, as well as getting to Agina. I think those are, you know, maybe not a whole lot, but I'd say a handful of seconds that GFE probably scored over Demolisher just in routing efficiency right there. Demolisher picking up his hammer at chess game, probably really happy to see that. I hate playing the game without a glove or without a hammer, because they're just items that you're so used to getting early. And when you have to route without them, like I'm constantly forgetting that I don't have them. Also keeping an eye on Demolisher's screen because I really want to confirm the item count in Thieves Town.
How many items does he have at this point?
Well, he's got an item in the big key.
All right, just making sure you're paying attention. GFE finding nothing at Dig Game. I'm going to continue making his way to the south side of Dark World. And Demo getting his third item at this point.
And then there's a boomerang at the top, so yeah, we're good.
So we've confirmed that GFE can count to 4. This is good.
Yeah, he is better than I am. This whole stretch is not super helpful.
No, just a bunch of garbage so far in the overworld. And Chet pointing out, GFE did get a blue boomerang, so he knew he was smart, to skip that red boomerang and save a couple seconds there.
Smart. I cannot stress to you how loud my air quotes were. And there's a bow. So now we have access to both Pod and Eastern, which is going to be maybe a slightly awkward decision point after Swamp. Because you definitely want to do Eastern. I don't know if you put in the effort to unlock Pod. At this point, I think Pod's going to be the answer. It's either got to be Pod or Eastern. I'm sorry, Pod or Desert. I mean, Armos could have something, but yeah, after Eastern, you got to pick your poison. We don't have a lot of good choices after Eastern. Pendant Pod, Pendant Desert. Hopefully GFE cleans up Bombo's Tablet after Swamp. And then aside from that, what? Ether Tablet and Spike Cave?
Yeah, I think you're about right there. And Demo has been counting as well. Totally ditched Blind's chest there as well. GFE making his way into Swamp.
Good on both of these runners. Thieves Town is 100% autopilot for me. I just do all the things. If I can open it, I open it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah, I do it in Go mode quite a bit as well. Even in this situation where I know I don't need to open Blind's stealth chest, but I do it anyway.
GFE finding red Mel, which is actually green. So Gino is an interesting character. His green Mel is blue, his blue Mel is red, and his red Mel is green. So hopefully you got that. There will be a quiz later. So going back to things Demolisher needs to get back into this race, that bow is actually, I'm going to say bad for Demolisher, because now GFE gets a single dip, Eastern Palace guaranteed. And of course, I don't see a scenario where Demolisher doesn't go straight to Swamp here. So again, the seed is turning out pretty linear after Aga. And if I'm GFE, I'm feeling pretty good right now. GFE really hasn't made a mistake in routing. Not going for Diver Down here is maybe slightly bold, although I don't think he's found a dungeon item, so I guess it makes sense. I know red Mel was in the first chest, but I don't recall exactly what was in the second chest.
Yeah, in this instance, especially if you haven't found the big key yet, it certainly makes sense. If you wanted to do left side Swamp, you could do it, in your second dip.
Yeah, it feels really bad to do left side Swamp, not find the big key, and then to find the big key back here, so you're still coming back into Swamp anyways.
Yep.
I will say though, we only have 2 items left, so depending on what Argus has, I don't know if GFE's coming back in here. If Argus has an item, I don't know if GFE will be coming back in here. Personally, I would, because if I'm GFE, I'm my routing has been solid. I think I've been executing pretty well. I don't really see a need to start gambling. Especially finding the hammer in Village of Outcasts, you have to feel good about skipping Eastern.
Yeah, definitely. And, it gets to what we were talking about earlier in that, after this, he got that bow, right? So he can do the Pod Easter play if he wanted, but there's just a couple of isolated checks for him. And isolating this, basically, I guess, 2 items at this point, would be a bit bold, I would think.
Yeah, especially with that big key. I think GFE is coming. I think skipping 2 items with the big key on Argus, I think that would be a mistake. I mean, it might work out for this seed, but I think tactically it's a mistake, and we do see him going back in, which I think is the right call. Which again, I mean, you have what, 2 items left in Swamp, 3 items in Eastern, and then at that point you have to pick either a pendant or a garbage overworld location. So yeah, like from GFE's perspective, I just looking at the percentages of where progression could be, I would definitely go back in for these items.
And gets the all-important shield, so it was certainly worth it.
I guarantee you, he was probably like, "Dang it," when he found that. Especially in these rooms, because the shield does add lag to these rooms, I do believe. Like, this is actually the worst place to find a shield. Like, find it anywhere else, but you don't want the shield in Swamp.
And Demo continuing to follow in GFE's footsteps like we thought, you know, making that swamp dip. I guess it'll be interesting to see, though, if he makes that left side swamp play, you know, whether here or after Argus. Because if he doesn't, and GFE doesn't find anything, it could save him some crucial time here.
Yeah, I think it makes a little bit of sense. I still wouldn't like it in a high-profile match like this, but I do think it makes a little bit more sense from Demolisher, because he has to know, like, I've cleared literally everything up until this point. I haven't skipped anything. So at best, I am tied with my opponent right now. You know, you definitely, like, if your opponent has skipped anything, they're ahead of you. So I don't know. We might see a skip from Demolisher. I don't know that I would endorse it, but I would understand it a little bit more from his perspective. No progression, but that's okay. This was a crystal dungeon, you had to do it. I wouldn't be worried about full clearing an empty swamp at this point. Demolisher, what is... Oh, Demolisher's doing... Okay, diver down. I was saying Demolisher had already cleared Argus.
No, yeah, he's doing it first. He's just getting some really bad luck with the enemies here.
Also, I'm not 100% sure on... I think this is good. I think he nudged down there. He's got 4 more tries with this diver down.
I feel like he might be a pixel or two too low on that bot.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with... Oh, there you go. I'm not familiar with how that sprite lines, because I use the top of Link's hat to line that up, so I'm honestly clueless when it comes to that sprite. If you want to wreck me in competitive play, give me any sprite that doesn't have the same height as Link. I just completely lose it.
So GFE making the play into Eastern. So we've seen the front of Eastern at this point. So he's not going to find anything here in the front. I'm going to grab that big key from the vanilla location. So, you know, we'll have to see if anything's on Armos. And then I think at that point, we'll have some decisions to make.
Yeah, it's a shame that Demolisher took so long to get the diver down, because otherwise this would actually be seconds that he's gaining on GFE. Although he's most certainly going to come back in to check the big key. So actually, you know, maybe not. But no, after this point, I have to imagine Demolisher is going to go clear Armos. And at that point, runners are even. And we were talking earlier about needing some kind of variance for Demolisher to catch up. This might actually be the variance he needs. If he has better luck with his coin flip than GFE does, it could bring him back into this race. And here's another diver down, and he's only got 2 tries to get this one right. First try, nice, well done. So pop quiz isn't really the proper term. What do you think the next item is going to be? And I mean, I don't know. I guess right now it has to be mitts, right? And what else could we find other than the mitts? Where do you think it's going to be?
Where do I think the mitts are going to be? I would put my money on desert. Like it's like that book needs to feel like it meant something. But
I actually really
hard
like
to
the
say at this
desert play
point.
as well. Also, from a slightly competitive play, I feel like if you were going to do pod, the time to do that was right after Aga. So yeah, I'm actually all for a desert play here.
Like and with the flute, it's an easy 2 checks, right? Like you can find yourself, kind of flailing away in pod a little bit as you don't find anything in the front. You have to make your way to the back. Pedestal is dead at this point.
Or you
right?
find mitts in the first chest, and what do you even do with that?
Right. Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. But you can knock out desert relatively quickly. And puts that book into play. Then again, it could be on Ether tablet and we last located anyway.
Yeah. But again, though, like you have to assume your opponent did that as well. Like, I wouldn't go into meltdown mode because I orphaned something on Ether tablet at this point.
For sure.
Demolisher getting his shield, so now I think he has to go finish up Eastern at this point.
GFE might be making the Pyramid Fairy play here.
I think he's cleaning up Bombos tablet.
Oh, he did that. It was, I believe, a big 20? Check. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was...
Oh, wait, no, he has access to Pyramid Fairy.
Yep.
Forgot about this location. I can see doing this over desert. Over any pendant dungeon, really. Demolisher is going straight to desert. Like GFE taking the shortcut here. You've already killed Aga. You have the mirror. Turning in the red bomb is a really quick trip.
You just got to deal with that annoying red guard there, but he avoids it nicely.
So, one thing that might work out for Demolisher here, depending on what GFE finds here, like I think there is a reality in which GFE finds mitts and takes it straight to the mountain, and maybe even finds Kane. But GFE won't have Ether if he goes up to the mountain. So where does GFE go from here?
It's like he's making the same play.
Yeah, I think this is a correct play. Not that there's really a correct play here, but yeah, again, like if you were gonna do Aga, I mean, if you were gonna do Pod, I feel like you had to have done it right after Aga.
Yeah, and to your point, you mentioned the Ether medallion. He knows it's there. He doesn't want to go to the mountain unless he gets that first. It's certainly possible that he thinks he might find the mitts here or in pod, and he'll have the 2 medallions if he were to head over to the mountain or into the Mire area anyway.
Yeah, and both runners are in the same dungeon looking for the same things, basically, but GFE is up an entire trip to Eastern and an Armo skill. So ironically, this is exactly what Demolisher needs, is this crapshoot of, there's a coin flip in terms of where the mitts are going to be. But oddly enough, both runners are making the same decision, so... This is I wouldn't say it's bad for Demolisher, but again, it's not really helping him catch up to the progress GFE has made at this point. And it looks like Lambo does have the second item, so that probably feels really bad. I'll be interested to see if GFE maybe skips it altogether. I don't think he will, but going to Landmo in this scenario doesn't feel good. And if Landmo has nothing, talk about like runner's mentality, you probably feel really bad clearing out an empty Pendant Desert.
Oh yeah, to make this time sink for a pendant that doesn't matter, and you know if the item didn't matter either, that certainly doesn't feel good.
Yeah, I wonder if the runners are even going to collect the pendant, because you can actually save and quit before the pendant drops. And if you know Pedestal's dead, you know, why not?
Looks like GFE's going to go clear it.
Oh, it doesn't have progression either. And Demolisher is going to collect.
This is good for Demolisher. It's about this cutscene's about 10, 11 seconds, give or take. You know, saving and quitting, and you know, starting somewhere and then fluting might be similar, but yeah, probably a little bit faster to save and quit.
Yeah, I'd probably, especially with quick swap, save and quit to the mountain, definitely.
So, you know, at least Demolisher, you know, hasn't done that Pyramid Fairy play. So if, you know, that's something that he's got up on GFE at this point.
Yeah, he can't, because he hasn't cleared Eastern yet.
Oh, right. Yeah, totally forgot about that.
Let's see if GFE collects.
So in a weird way, this could actually work out for him a little bit.
That's my man. We're going to have a team meeting if he caught that pendant. Unfortunately, he is a little low magic, but I have to imagine... oh, he's going to check the mountain. All right. I don't think this is a bad play. I mean, of course, going to pod isn't that attractive, and you already save and quit to the mountain. But ideally, you'd want to do these with the mitts. But if, you know, this ends up having the mitts, you have to feel pretty good about that, even after diving desert. The longer you can put off pendant pod and still be finding progression, the better you're probably going to feel about it.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, he does get a chance to do Spike Cave as well, so it's not just this one isolated check. You know, he'll get 2 in.
So book was useless. Like, there was no need to get the book.
Yeah, it's a total feels bad man moment, right? I mean, that was literally like the first thing they saw when they got out of Escape, and turned out to be totally nothing.
So all that's left is for Ether to be useless too.
So at this point, you know, Demolisher will be done with Eastern right around the same time as GFE, you know, wrapping up Spike Cave. So it'll be interesting to see if they both make the pod play at the same time. You know,
GFE literally doesn't have a location left. He's done it all.
Yeah, I'm talking more from Demolisher side, and you know, given where he's at, he might certainly just, you know, say screw it, I'm going right into pod.
I mean, I think he has to. He already committed to bringing Kiki. I don't think you leave to go do Pyramid Fairy, and then you lose your portal, you know, right outside of pod. I think Demolisher's hard committed into pod at this point.
So we'll have some new checks over here on the right-hand side of the screen with Demolisher. What do we find here? Just a key. Yeah, it almost certainly has to be Mitts at this point, because obviously Kane doesn't do anything for you yet. It's possible that they just get totally unlucky with a shovel or something, but I'd put my money on
Mushroom.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
because that's what this seed needs, another useless fetch quest. Man, I think the question is, if you're both runners, right? Particularly Demolisher, because Demolisher actually has a lot more on the map. If you find Mitts in the front of Pod, do you go to the back?
If I'm either runner, I think as soon as I find Mitts, I bail. Because at that point, I'm more than likely only one item from go mode, with the cane. And, I've opened up Ice Palace, I've opened up the Mire checks, I've opened up the mountain. And especially with that double dip of Eastern on Demolisher side, I would think in order to try to make up time, you take off.
I mean, even more so from GFE, because GFE has checked literally everything on the map right now. This is a 100% last location for him. Demolisher at least has some checks that he has access to. In the backup pod, I probably stay and clear the dungeon.
Yeah, at this rate, being forced to go back here, it certainly makes sense to just knock the rest of it out.
GFE despawned the switch momentarily. Had to go back down to put it back on the screen. It's gonna be interesting if Mitts are actually actually on Helma, or even Green Pendant maybe. Talking about like runner's mentality, like right now I think both runners feel maybe behind, assuming the other person did this right after Aga. But also if it's on Helma, you have to feel good at that point, because if your opponent did it, either your opponent is last locationing with you, or your opponent is double dipping Pod. So, there are Mitts in the south of Dark Maze. So, looks like we need information now. Information and a cane.
And, that basically confirms at this point that we have a race on our hands.
Yeah, Demolisher with a slight edge, but that also depends on what GFE does here. Oh, he's going for it. I don't know about this. With how many items you have left for go mode, I think you have to be a little bit more aggressive than this.
Yeah, especially with what those Mitts just opened up. He must feel really behind.
There's
your cane.
Man, this is
Mire, however, is Quake.
Mire's Quake.
Oh, by the way, actually, Mire's a pendant, so it doesn't matter. Sorry, I just realized it's a pendant, so it doesn't matter. But, after that, go straight into ice. Okay. I guess it's a fairly easy, full clear for ice, with that cane especially. You definitely want to know what the pendant is on the mountain. But at this point, if you can go, clear ice and then Turtle Rock happens to be medallion you have, then you're in go mode.
Yeah, if I'm Demolisher, I'll do ice, but I'm only checking what's on my way. This is not a full clear for me. I would assume I'm in go mode, but check anything on the way just in case. I mean, maybe
I mean, in
from
that instance,
GFE's
it's only really iced tea room that you're missing. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm wondering if GFE, like, just trying to think of like what put him in this position, right? You do left side swamp, you go back into swamp for 2 items, it has nothing. Okay, if my opponent skipped this, I lost that time. You go out of your way for Pendant Desert. Okay, if my opponent skipped this, I've lost that time as well. When you're gambling, you have 2 decisions to make. You either skip things like crazy, trying to make up time, or you check locations like crazy, hoping that your opponent skips something. So I wonder if that's what's going into in GFE's mind right now. Because for me, like Mitts and Pod, with how many locations that opens up, like this is a really slow play. Just compared to the item density, like literally anywhere else on your map right now. Oh, Shovel, we're definitely checking that. We're turning in a green pendant. We're checking Shovel,
Yeah.
the Hyrule World Tour here.
Yeah, and Demo not even opening the chests there in that hammer room. So to your point, he basically is assuming he's in go mode and just gonna clear out this dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like if Turtle Rock is Quake, well, thank God he's already checked Bumper Cave. But you know, if Turtle Rock is Quake, that's going to be a bummer. But also, you have to think like you have 2 medallions, so actually the odds are in your favor that you're in go mode. So if you're talking about what's a gamble versus what isn't, I think it's the gamble to depend on the 33%, or to make your decisions based off of the 33%, as opposed to making your decision off of the 66%. Like I think it's safer to assume you're in go mode right now. The only exception would be if you're in a location that you absolutely would never ever want to return to. So GFE is about to feel awful when he goes into this mire shed. Demo getting a little friendly with Cold Stare, which granted they do have red mail, so.
And gets a couple of bombs for his troubles, and gonna head up to the mountain now and see if he's in go mode. GFE, meanwhile, getting that Cane of Samaria, so he's gonna dungeon rush, I would imagine.
So it looks like this is going to come down to the TR medallion and execution. I will say, based off of what I've seen, I do think GFE has a slight execution advantage over Demolisher. I don't think it's enough to close this gap on execution alone, unless there's some kind of a catastrophic mistake from Demo. Like maybe some drastic difference, and maybe a couple more of those. Yeah. Maybe like a drastic difference in GT big key routing. Like if GFE pulls off a Dark Magician without a small key, and there's no small key in Open, whereas Demo goes like full left, something like that. But yeah, it's hard to. It's really hard not to say that it's Demo's race to lose right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think the keyword you used there was catastrophic. I think you'd need something real big to happen at this point to massively close the lead, given that GFE's a full dungeon behind at this point.
Yeah, especially checking chests like Pin Gator. I think he's gonna probably check the Ice H room. That's probably game. I really want to believe in GFE here, but this is a pretty solid lead by Demolisher at this point. Especially depending on how hard GFE is going to check for Quake here. Yeah, he's going to open up almost all these chests on the way.
And
So
so
Demolisher's
far, just a couple keys and a 20. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Demolisher's making his way through Turok. Like, really, the only thing that can really trip him up at this point is like maybe like a bad Turok small key layout. Although I don't think he's got the big key, so he may be doing vanilla big key anyways.
Yeah, he doesn't have the big key yet. Might get it in this room, but
these are some of the most annoying rooms in the game. Oh, Butter Sword, that's nice.
yeah. So vanilla big key it is.
Yeah, makes the Ganon fight a little easier. Doesn't do much aside from that, although you can get a zero cycle Trinex with that. But aside from the boss fights, it doesn't really lend itself to a whole lot at this point in the game.
Yeah, I would say in GT, I think there's a couple rooms where when you dash through them with the gold sword, it kills all the enemies, whereas Temper doesn't. But yeah, it doesn't really do a ton other than that.
Of course, these are the kind of things that are really hard to time, but I'd be interested to know if Helma didn't have a shovel, how much closer this race would be, you know?
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah,
it's
'cause
like
at that point,
you would think
GP's not
finding
committed.
progression's a good thing. Demolisher is skipping the big chest. He is not skipping the big chest. Okay.
Okay.
I was like, that's a bold play, given that you don't have any small keys. Like you're really banking on the big chest having nothing.
Yeah, I could see making that play, obviously, when you get to steal that key and skip the big key chest. But in this instance, I think you have to check this big chest.
Yeah. And it's not to root too hard for GFE, but when you're talking about you don't need to have any catastrophic mistakes. Too many like halfway decisions like that, they do start to add up over time, and GFE is close.
It's okay, P-Train. I'll be the impartial one. You can root.
Yeah, honestly, I think the only way GFE gets back into this is a Dark Magician play with no small key and Hope Room. I think that's probably the only scenario. Or a Tile Room gamble. And I would not put GFE above a Tile Room gamble. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in a league race. I believe it was last week.
Yeah,
I think it was Jula Ninja actually. Yeah, made that play.
Yeah, I think they timed it, and it would have been a tie had Julo not done Tile Room. But that's one good thing about the league. Like, you're not reliant on one person to carry the team. Like there are two other people that you get to rely on and you get to depend on. So you don't have to do everything yourself. So for me, like, although these are competitive races, it's kind of nice to have that edge taken off because, okay, yeah, I had a really bad race. Luckily, I have two awesome team members who can, help carry the team. So
yeah, I totally agree.
So, yeah.
And Demo finishing off Trinex. Getting a heart for his troubles. And that's his 7th crystal.
Yes, so if you're interested in doing so, you can drop some numbers in chat, numbers 1 through 22. Take your guess as to where the big key is going to be. I'm going to level with you. I'm not going to read all the numbers. So if you're right, you get to celebrate amongst yourself. Feel free to call it out in chat. But I don't know that I'm going to notice the winners.
I'm sure they will call it out for sure. And those free internet points are always useful.
Yeah, I'm seeing Cool Blue and Mr. Mecha Moose playing bold. 'Cause I don't know if y'all knew this, but it's Price is Right rules, right? So if you go over, you lose. Sorry, but yeah, good luck, guys. We'll see
And
what
P-Train
route
hoping for
Demolisher
that
takes.
22.
I wish for 22 only if GFE gambles 22.
Right. I'll be the impartial one again, and I'll go with 10. Oh, okay
Oh
then.
wow.
Never
So
mind.
that's actually bad for GFE because I'm almost certain he's gonna do Dark Magician strats. So he's going to the Stalfos room right now. I think right now though I can say
And Relkin
pretty
doing a great
definitive-
job starting the game late.
Yeah, I don't
Sorry, go
think
ahead.
I don't think Shovel made a huge difference here. I think at best, what GFE's on Trinex without the Shovel, maybe. So I don't think Shovel was a deal breaker here, which is good to know.
Yeah, definitely
Demolisher
not.
having a little bit of trouble with mimics, but gets through it.
Yeah, I think by the time they got the mitts, they were probably what 20-ish seconds apart, maybe. So it definitely wasn't the shovel; it was the play to finish up Halmasaur for sure.
See if GFE gets the zero cycle. Doesn't look like it. Not doing dash strats. I don't think you can get a zero cycle from the front of Trinex.
And Demolisher making quick work of the gauntlet, about to make his way over to Landmo 2.
So Demolisher is having a relatively good gauntlet here. Again, talking about those catastrophic mistakes, like I would venture to say, unless we're talking about dying at the top of Ganon's Tower, which is not even, I wouldn't even consider that in the realm of possibility right now. I think we could even afford a catastrophic mistake or two on Demo's side right now. Like early Ganon death, maybe a Ganon fall. I think he's actually good in this scenario. And GFE, as predicted, he's going Dark Magician strats.
Yeah, and Demo does have a blue potion, by the way, so I think getting that Ganon death, I think, is even tougher at this point. But yeah, very clean GT. We'll see how he fares against Moldorm. Usually pretty easy with this gold sword. Yeah, 2 quick slashes and he's down.
GFE finding that big key and is immediately out. Not even going to bother to check for silvers. I agree with that. He has to fill behind, like to clear Helma, and then your very next check is the Cane of Samaria. Like, yeah.
Just a single that time.
Nice Aga 2 fight. Demolisher looking like he's taking some anger out on the bat.
Yeah.
I hate these red skeletons in the gauntlet. They are literally the worst enemy in the game. Maybe second to Dead Rocks. And Demo is going to begin his Ganon fight. Should be relatively easy with a gold sword. You know, one of the things that's good to know is a 1-in-1 pattern on Ganon, so that you experience each cycle of Ganon only once. With a gold sword, you don't even need to know the pattern, you just wail on him.
Yeah, there's just enough time to get 6 slashes in on that first cycle, and then the second cycle is actually relatively easy with that gold sword.
Turok had the silvers. That's interesting. I think they had to be on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, Laser Bridge. Yeah, because they got the key from the big chest and ended up getting another key from Crystal Roller, so both of them knocked out.
Demo's taking this last phase of Ganon very slow and safe. And there we go. Ganon is down. And he crosses the bridge with an official time of 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 2 seconds.
Get your GGs in chat. Good race by Demo.
Jiffy getting bullied by the bumpers. He probably just saw his opponent finish. These Aga patterns aren't great.
No. So
I don't know that I
GFE will probably
fully
end up with the
appreciated
same-
these patterns when Demo is doing it.
Yeah, I think he got the same 4 cycle that Demo did. But yeah, all in all, I mean, given what GFE did in this seed, finishing with the 130, it feels pretty good. Because it didn't feel like a jet seed. These are pretty fast times given the amount of checks that they did.
Yeah, I mean, Sphere 1 was pretty open until you get bottlenecked into Aga. At that point, it got super linear, which is interesting because GFE did a lot of checks over Demolisher to wind up in the same spot, being Desert and Pod. But then GFE's decision to clear Helma, and then Helma had the shovel. Just at that point, that was just the nail in the coffin. GFE giving Ganon a little hug there. Luckily, he has a red mail, so not too deadly. Jiffy getting bullied by a firebat there, trying to go for a triple.
Yeah, looks like he'll pick this one up.
And GFE kills Cannon. We'll be walking over the bridge shortly. And GFE finishes with an official time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 46 seconds. GG's to both of the runners. Let's see if we can get them in here for an interview.
Yeah, we are looking to see if the runners will be joining us. Looks like GFE will be joining.
See if Demolisher joins. Alright, there they are. Let me drag them up real quick. GG's.
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 So, interesting seed, right? You have Sphere 1, which was crazy in terms of the number of items you get. It all gets bottlenecked into AGA. And after that, it looked like a really linear seed. The seed, to us, looked very linear. In reality, it ended up not being the case with Mitts hiding away in Pod for so long. However, both of you made very similar decisions. So first, I want to hear from Demolisher. What were your, especially with a linear seed like this, or at least the way it played out for both of you, how were you feeling throughout the seed? Were you feeling like you were making good decisions? Did you feel behind? You know, like when you found Hammer, did you feel good about it? When you were climbing Aga, did you feel good about your routing? How did you feel about the seed as you went through it?
So my only bad thing that is that I went into Eastern, but I was trying to save the flute activation until I got Dark World access without Aga, of course. So that way I could just do that along the way. I'm not losing any time not doing Aga if it's absolutely required. So after Eastern, I obviously went to go do the flute because maybe Agina has the mitts or the hammer. Thankfully, I didn't skip the fire rod.
I mean, I unintentionally saved flute activation till Dark World access.
Oh, I was hyping you up, man. I was like, man, this is genius.
You have the mirror, so like I usually start off from Thieves Town anyways, so that's a good time to do the flute.
So then going to you, GFE. Again, you know, we were thinking the seed was very linear until we found the Mitts and Pod. How are you feeling? Because you had a bit more routing efficiency. Your Sphere 1 routing was a bit crazy. Doing Zora first, farming, you know, tier 1 tree pools to get the Zora money, then doing South Shore, then doing CAC, then doing Satra's Closet, Mountain. You did Aga before Eastern, which we both kind of agreed was a really good play. Pretty quick into Skullwoods to get the Ice Rod, quick to the Hammer. You cleaned up a few more checks, but you were basically neck and neck You both ended up in desert at the same time, Demolisher being a little bit ahead of you. And you both ended up in pod around the same time. Of course, the differentiating factor was the fact that GFE, you stayed in pod to clear Helma and turn in the green pendant, and of course Helma had the shovel, so that was an additional fetch quest. So up until that point, we'll say like post Hammer, right? So you find Hammer, you clear Thieves Town, you go into Swamp. We'll say around the time you cleared Left Side Swamp. How are you feeling up until that point? And was there anything on your mind that led you into clearing Helma? Because we both kind of thought that was a bit dubious.
I mean, honestly, before Swamp ended up was empty, right? Basically empty.
Yeah, I don't think Swamp had anything in it.
Completely empty.
Yeah, up until that point, I felt pretty good, to be honest. After Swamp, I had my bow, and obviously I could have comboed Pod Eastern there, but I wanted to stay out of Pod. I wanted to basically full clear everything else, so that if I went to Pod and it came to the helmet decision, I already knew what to do. I knew I would have had to do it. When I found Mitts there, and it wasn't bow locked, I know it's a fairly common play for people to go to Pod after Aga, especially Pendant Pod, because you're not going to have to dip it again anyway. And so I thought, if he got these mitts early, I'm probably in trouble. We could potentially still need Quake, and there's at least 2 items on the boss. So I'm willing to gamble that in hopes of making a comeback here. But you never know where you are in a 1v1. The one thing that makes me the most salty about the seed is if I had a bottle, or if I knew how to mimic clip in less than like 20 minutes, then I would have actually comboed a Pod and Eastern dip right after Aga, because I kind of wanted the Eastern insurance just in case Dark World access was there. So that feels bad.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Like, I felt like Aga was a reasonable play before Eastern, especially with the book on Lumberjack, because you do have the mirror, so you get the efficiency of comboing Pod and Eastern, and you also get the insurance of, if the book is needed, you have it. But yeah, that was interesting, because I did kind of call out. I was like, I wonder if he, might want to do Eastern in case it has a hammer, in case it has mitts.
Yeah, if I'd had a bottle, then that would have been the play, and things would have turned out a lot differently. Hard last locating those mitts felt pretty bad. I mean, at least I went straight to the cane afterward, but that Helma play, and I think Demolisher said he skipped Spike, Ether, and Pyramid Fairy also. So,
I was going to do those if Pod didn't have anything. Like, I was going to continue clearing Pod, doing everything until I found those mids.
Yeah, you comboed the Pod dip with your Eastern clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think essentially, you were up GFE an Eastern dip, after before Aga, throughout most of the seed, and then once you finished up Eastern and you did the Pyramid Fairy play, that's where Demo ended up catching up, because you made that Pyramid Fairy play, you did the mountain, and then you guys entered Pod literally within 15-20 seconds of each other.
Yeah, the irony of this seed is that we were talking about how linear it was. GFE, of course, you were up the Eastern dip that Demolisher did, and Demolisher was just kind of following in your footsteps, right? And we were like, man, Demolisher really needs some kind of variety here, some kind of variance if he wants to pull ahead, because if this seed continues to be as linear as it is, he's just going to be following in your footsteps the whole time. Little did we know that mitts were, in the same sphere as the hammer was. So like this seed could have played out completely differently if either of you had decided to dive Pod afterwards. But to that extent, so Demolisher, you were following. I know you didn't know this, but you were trailing GFE for a lot of it. I mean, you were basically even, because you did dive Eastern, and with the vanilla big key, that GFE wasn't going to gain a whole lot of time on you there. But that said, you dive desert, you full cleared swamp, but then you go to Pod, you get the mitts. Your very next check is a Cane of Samaria in Mire. You got to skip all of Dark Death Mountain. You skipped Pyramid Fairy. You're getting to go mode ice. Um, when you found Kane of Samaria, how did you feel at that moment? Did you feel like, okay, I'm in a good place, I feel like I'm ahead, or I feel like I have a competitive time? Or were you still reeling over, the desert clear, the full clear swamp, things like that?
Absolutely, I felt behind the entire time, especially after I found this bits. I'm like, I'm really far behind. I'm absolutely sure that GFE went here first, got the mitts, and then like basically full clear the rest of the seed. While I'm just stuck getting the mitts after diving desert and doing left side swamp and just having nothing. I'm glad. I usually go. Sometimes I forget that I can go to Mire and go up the mountain, so that would have sucked. Thankfully, this time I didn't. And I was really glad to see that Mire was Quake. If it wasn't, I was still going to dip it anyways. But thankfully, the cane was just right outside.
Oh, you mean dip Meyer looking for the cane?
Yes.
Gotcha. Would you have done that before Meyer shed?
No, Mire sheds first, always.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, man, you are a brave man.
I mean, if you were that desperate, you might as well just clear Helma.
I felt like that I needed something else besides this pod.
Yeah, that's one thing that we were talking about though, because whenever you clear a swamp for nothing, you clear a desert for nothing. If you feel like you're behind, there are two ways in which you can gamble, right? You can either skip locations like mad and hope that you just open up the correct chests, or you can full clear. Sorry, accidentally muted the mic. You can full clear everything and hope that you find something your opponent skips. So when you cleared Helma GFE, did you feel like that was the good play, or did you clear that thinking that like, man, I hope my opponent maybe left after mitts and Kane is on Helma?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of desperation. I figured he had mitts far before I did. I honestly figured he would have done that before the desert play. So it was desperation.
Yeah, I can see
I'd be
that.
curious to see how this would have turned out otherwise, because it sounds like if not for that play, it would have been a pretty high race the rest of the way.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I mean, if you get mitts, you have to imagine that a Meyer check's coming shortly after, maybe even up to the mountain. So you might be getting your hammer a little later, but then again, though, hammer didn't really lock anything this seed. Once you cleared Aga, you really just picked up your hammer, ice rod, bow, and mitts all in the same sphere, and then you need your mitts to get Kane of Samaria, and that's it. Like not counting Aga as a sphere, I think this seed was only four spheres deep. Kane being the deepest item in the entire game, or in this entire seed. So yeah, it's kind of weird how linear we thought it was, but in reality, it really wasn't.
I
You
mean,
just both made very, very similar decisions.
yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of jet seeds rolled recently in the league matches I've seen. And if you go into pod after Aga, this one honestly probably turns out that way too.
Yeah. Before we ask for final thoughts from the runners, Muko Charm, did you have anything that you were particularly wanting to ask?
No, I think you hit on everything. I just want to say GG's to the runners. You guys did a great job.
Demolisher, any final thoughts that you want to share with the world before we sign off?
My heart's pounding. It's always nervous doing these one-on-ones because you don't know where your opponent is. GFE and I were talking in the race time, and we both said that we both minimize the race room at the very end because of how close it could have actually been, because no one was done yet.
That's funny because I actually thought like the moment you finished, GFE got bullied in the bowling alley in GT. So I actually thought, I'm like, oh, he probably just looked over at race time GG and saw Demolisher finished. He got ping ponging in between the bumpers and all that.
I completely forgot I got bullied this entire seed. That stupid death in Lost Woods.
It worked out. Luckily, you went back there and got the hook shot. I was a little bit worried.
I wasn't
Were you
gonna
there?
skip that. Absolutely not.
GFE, any final thoughts?
Just appreciate the commentary, Moogle and P-Train, and thanks to our tracker, Yoinker's wife. Appreciate everybody who puts these on. Appreciate chat, and also carry me, P-Train, because I need it.
I'll do my
Oh,
best.
so this was like a bias commentary. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm the one who will suffer because of it, though.
I made
I
it
mean,
a point to
I
mention
gave you a
that.
fair shake.
Sorry, I was gonna say I made it a point to say that I was completely unbiased in this, and didn't have any part in rooting for either of the runners here, except needling P-Train a little bit maybe throughout. But please give these runners a follow. GFE_12 and D Demolisher 1. Their links are in the chat. These guys put on a great race for everyone out there.
And with that, I think we'll go ahead and sign off. GG GFE, GG Demolisher. Thank you very much, Yoinker's wife, for tracking, and thank all of you viewers for watching. Appreciate it.